Creepy dolls are bad enough, but none are scarier than Chucky, the terrifying killer doll. This pint-sized, red-headed, murdering menace has been terrorizing children and adults alike since the 1980s, when he became famous from the Child's Play series of movies, and he hasn't stopped to this day. But before he was a doll, Chucky was a flesh-and-blood serial killer named Charles Lee Ray, who terrorized Chicago. His rampage came to an end when he was killed by a police detective in a toy store, but not before he used a voodoo spell to transfer his consciousness to a nearby doll. The possessed, overall-wearing good guy doll would become the permanent vessel for Ray, and eventually he ended up in the home of 6-year-old Andy Barclay. Andy learned Chucky's true name, which allowed Chucky to try and take over the body of the boy and become human again, but the boy's mother and detective who had killed Ray were able to stop the doll by burning him. But a little thing like being reduced to ash couldn't stop Chucky from returning. When the toy company made a new line of good guy dolls, parts from the original cursed doll were mixed in, allowing Chucky to rise again. Chucky really wants two things in life. 1, to get a new human body, and 2, to kill anyone who has slighted him, either as a doll or from his old human life. And since he's a magically animated 2.5-foot-tall doll, those who try to get help or explain what's stalking them usually end up laughed at, or worse, locked away in an asylum. Chucky waited too long to possess a new body, though, and ended up stuck in his doll form. This didn't do anything to calm his killing instinct, though, and he continued his rampage before finally being stopped when a pressurized air hose was stuck in his mouth, inflating him until he exploded. But bits of his body got into a vat of plastic used for more dolls, and he came back again. At this point, you're probably wondering, how can you possibly stop this guy even if exploding him doesn't work? Well, that's a good question, and it seems like the answer was to throw him in an industrial fan, blending him up into a million tiny pieces. This should have been the end of it, but of course nothing is that simple when it comes to haunted dolls. Chucky was summoned back to life through a magical ritual, and now he was madder than ever. And worst of all, he now had a little doll wife. Chucky and his new bride sought out a couple whose bodies they could steal, and as you can imagine, it involved a lot of murder, and even resulted in a demented doll child, who ended up turning against him and hacking him to pieces. But things never seemed to stop with Chucky. He came back once again, and this time he discovered a voodoo incantation that allowed him to split his soul and inhabit multiple vessels at once, essentially giving him the ability to create an entire army of himself. Now there's a whole bunch of Chucky dolls out there, and no one knows where they'll turn up next. Want to see Fuzzy take on more of history's greatest monsters? Hit that subscribe button and tell us who you'd like to see next.